Hello, guys. My name is Nicholas Lackman. Thank you guys for just joining in, looking at these tutorials. Just a little bit about me. I am currently an estimator at a collision shop, and I've only been an estimator for 2 years. And to be honest, within these 2 years, I've learned a lot. Um, and this is what I've created these tutorials to just put in these videos all the nuggets, all the knowledge that I know that's valuable that can, lead you to a position at a shop paying you well over 100K. And it's within reach, you know. It's not impossible for you to learn this within a couple months. Especially after these tutorials, my job here is to honestly land you a position at a collision shop. Um, is it going to be easy? No, but with a lot of determination and being motivated, that's that's really what will get you a position at a shop. And if you really take these videos serious, although I've been only got 2 years of experience being an estimator, or not even 2 years to be honest, because when I first started, I was a runner boy. Uh, they'll tell me, "Hey Nick, I need you to go get some parts from the dealership or from this vendor," and I'll just hop in my car, I'll take off. Or, "Hey Nick, you gotta go get these parts from Napa or O'Reilly's," and that was me going to run out to get these parts, and I'll bring it back and I'll give it to the tech. I say, "Hey, you guys need these parts to get the car done." And as time went on, I seen how the lead estimator there, he was a leader. He was a leader in the shop, um, and that's who I strive to be. I wanted to learn the trade, so that way I can um, get these cars in, write the sheets, give it to the tech, get the cars painted, and give it back to the customer. And ultimately, um, being a leader is what an estimator is. And being an estimator there's no doubt about it. You can get paid a lot of money. Thank God, um, I'm getting paid well over 100K where I'm at. Um, thank God I've been able to buy a house, take care of my family, have a side business that's just running. But this is what I really want to teach you guys. I have a lot of people that's been reaching out to me saying, "Hey Nick, I want to learn." So I'm breaking down some of these modules here. Again, if you were to complete all these modules, you should have enough knowledge to actually be a rookie estimator, get in the shop, and make some money. But it does take some work. It does take some paying attention to what I'm going to say, how people, especially these customers, because being an estimator, you're actually the professional at the shop. So let me just start off by saying, what is an estimator? When you go to a collision shop, an estimator is a person that will diagnose the car, put it in paper, which is creating that estimate, and actually explaining to you what is wrong with the car, what all needs to be fixed, and how long it's going to take to actually fix um, this vehicle. That's in essence, this is what an estimator is. He's just a professional of the repairs. Now, do not confuse an estimator with a tech. A tech is the person who actually works on the car. The estimator is the one who actually blueprints the repairs for the tech. Now, There's a difference between a collision shop and a mechanic shop. A collision shop, they deal with mostly body work. All collision shops, they do a body work, painting the cars, um, welding panels. So always think when a car gets in an accident, it's going to a collision shop. If your car engine stops working, or if your brakes, you need brakes and you need an oil change, you're going to a mechanic. So the question is, does collision shops have mechanics? And the answer is yes. When you get hit in an accident, when your vehicle gets hit, um, let's just say the front end of the car is smashed in, the hood is smashed in. Brand new 2025 or 2026 car. Um, what happens is that the repairs need to be completed. We got to get you a new bumper. We got to get you some new headlights. We got to get you a hood, and all of these parts have to be painted, right? And then after it's painted, now we have to diagnose the engine, or radiator, or the condenser. What happened, and what is the extent of the damage to these mechanical parts? And yes, we do have mechanics at a collision shop because it entails mechanical work is included in collision work. But I want to be clear that when you get into an accident, most of the time, and I would say about 85% of the time, it's mostly body work or collision work, meaning it deals with panels, it deals with painting. You're not really swapping out an engine or swapping out the transmission. Usually the most things that you'll be swapping out or replacing is like the radiator, the condenser, maybe the battery, the shutter. So, but with the engine, no. Sometimes a car needs an engine, but most of the time, collision work is dealing with the exterior of the car, um, and suspension parts as well. So I want to just get that across in your head. What we do, we're very different from a mechanic shop, but in essence, we have mechanics at our shop because when a car gets into an accident, we are responsible to getting that car back to where it was, or not even to where it was, to where it was made to be. So, I want to tell you a little bit about what we're going to be covering in these next modules. So, first thing, I want to teach you about how a shop works. An estimator, you have to know the ins and out of a shop. It's not too complicated. Actually, it's not complicated at all. You just got to pay attention, listen, take notes, rewatch these videos, and honestly, just focus. Dial ups because 95% of these production shops work the same way, and these mom and pop shops, they work the same way as well, just at a smaller scale. So I'm going to dive into how a shop works, so that way once you're finished with that module, you should be able to go inside a shop and see, hey, I know what this part is, I know what this part is, I know what they're doing here. So that's very important. Next module that I'll be going over is the roles of each person at a shop. Why is it important? Because first off, an estimator, wears a lot of hats. Okay, so an estimator not only writes an estimate and hand to the customer, but an estimator knows about parts, knows about the parts department. The estimator knows about what the receptionist does, what the customer service representative does, um, what the detail guy does. An estimator know what each person at a shop does, and they can do the job as well. I'm not saying that an estimator needs to weld on a quarter panel or fix a bumper. No, but an estimator knows what's going on. You don't have to be a super expert at that position, but you got to know each role at a shop. And I will dive into each of those roles and explain in detail what they do. Role that module. The next module we're gonna go over is CCC1 navigation. So an estimator, he pretty much lives in CCC1. Um, Actually, the entire shop runs on a software called CCC1. So I'll tell you a little bit about what CCC1 is, what it does, why all the insurance companies use CCC1. Are there any other competitors out there to this software? But in essence, 99% of all collision shops are using CCC1. If you look at any job description for an estimator, you'll say, hey, CCC1 knowledge, because this is I would say, the database or your CRM for all your cars, all your files, all your customers, and all the information. So it's very important. And this is what they don't teach you, how to navigate C1. So this is a very important module. Next module I want to go into is spotting damages and talking to customers. It's very important. You got to be able, as an estimator, customers come in to the shop and they say, hey, I need someone to come take a look at my car. I need to know how much it's going to take to fix it, and all the steps it takes to fix it, or even how long it'll take to fix my car. So an estimator should be able to go out there with the customer and actually explain to the customer, this is what's going on with your car. In essence, you don't have to know the details of why it's smoking, or why you're why it's shaking, or why you're hearing a rattling noise. You don't have to know. You want to give them a broad overview of what potentially could be going on with their car. And it's not hard at all. And you got to be able to look at damage and just explain to them, if that part needs to be replaced or repaired. And I'll teach you, those are in a shop, when writing a sheet, there's only two things you can do to a part. You can either repair it or replace it. Bottom line, very simple. But I'll teach you. I'll show you how to spot damage and what it takes to fix this damage. Next module we'll be going into is writing a sheet, or in other words, writing an estimate. An estimate or a sheet is the same thing. It's very important. That's like the bread and butter right there. So you got to know how to write an estimate. But I want to put in your brain that writing a sheet, it's only, I would say, 30% of what an estimator is. And I'll tell you why. Because an estimator, like I said, wear many hats at a shop. My boss told me that, he put it like this: it's the estimator who puts money in the books. He's like the sales guy, in essence. But writing a sheet is only one part of it. Carrying that car throughout the shop and getting it back to the customer is the next 70% of his job. So that's a very important module. And the next module we're going to go over is ordering parts and sublet vendors. Why is this module so important? Because you can write a sheet, you can write an estimate, but you have to get those parts into the building so that way your tech can start working on the vehicle. Without parts, that car isn't moving anywhere. It's going to be sitting. So very important. This is very important module. And then the last module, or not the last module, but the last main module would be closing a file. Learning to close a file, it's like one of those underrated modules that people know. Um, sometimes you're gonna work at a shop that is very organized, or you might work at a shop that doesn't really care. Because in the collision industry, the margins, the profits it's very high. Put it like that. You make a lot of money if you get the work in. If you got the work in and you got the right people, you can make a lot of money. It is very profitable. So a lot of shops don't mind losing a few dollars on each car and not making the file as clean as a whistle. But there's other shops that follow everything to the T and make sure that every cent is accounted for, and that's where I've gained my experience from. I've worked at a shop that, if a cent, 1 penny is missing from this file, then the file cannot be closed. Matter of fact, you cannot call that customer to come pick up their vehicle unless this file is all the money is accounted for. So I'll get into that a little bit more. And then the last module I want to go over is more writing more sheets. Just want to help you practice how to write an estimate. How to write an estimate when you apply for your new position at a collision shop. Most of the time they'll say, hey, go ahead and write this estimate to replace this quarter panel. So I'll give you the secret sauce on how to write an estimate. And I just want you to think that being an estimator, it is a big position at a shop because you're technically in charge of the cars and you're in charge of all the people trying to get this car completed. But you're not in charge of, what I would say is the actual labor or the actual work of repairing the job. But you're responsible for blueprinting the job. And that's why an estimator is so important and their job is so important. And it really takes a team. An estimator is a leader. He's a leader at the shop. He's one of the most, or if not the most busiest person at a shop. He sometimes have 10 cars under his belt or even 20 cars under his belt that he has to continuously manage. He's got to touch every car every day to actually be a good estimator. He has to know where his cars are at. Sometimes there's only 10 cars. Hey, this car is in paint, this car is being built up, or this car is in the detail department getting cleaned up, or this car is just completely repaired. It's out front, but I can't call the customer yet because I gotta get my file cleaned. And what that means is just, I gotta make sure that the insurance company is gonna pay me exactly what's on the estimate and all the money is accounted for. So I want to teach you these things. I believe you're going to have a lot of fun learning it, And I want to reiterate that it's not complicated. It just takes paying attention. You have to pay attention. You have to dial in and actually understand what I'm telling you. And I'm going to give you the blueprint. And my job here, what I really want to do, it's like I'm training my own self, like teaching my own self who knew nothing about estimating, and to give myself the knowledge to actually go ahead and apply for a position